Nestled deep within a snow-kissed forest stood a solitary cabin. Its weathered wooden frame exuded a rustic charm. The cabin promised sanctuary, a tranquil escape from everyday chaos. It beckoned those seeking solace, a respite from the ordinary. The allure lay in its physical isolation and promise of a digital detox. Here, cell phone signals faded, and internet connections became a memory. It was a place to disconnect and reconnect with oneself and nature. The cabin's modest interior exuded warmth. A crackling fireplace cast dancing shadows on wooden walls adorned with hunting trophies and faded family photographs. The aroma of pine needles and wood smoke hung in the air. The silence, broken only by the fire or a distant owl, was palpable. It allowed one to hear their own thoughts, confront fears and desires. This was the allure of the Snowbound cabin, a place to get lost and find oneself. Even in this sanctuary, a sense of foreboding lingered. The sky, once serene, turned ominous. The wind howled, whipping the snow into a frenzy. Trees swayed precariously, their shadows twisting on the ground. The weather change was swift and dramatic. Snowflakes fell tentatively, then transformed into a blizzard. The sky unleashed its fury, snowflakes blinding. The storm seemed to target the cabin, isolating it. The path to the cabin was buried under snow. The world outside became an unforgiving wilderness. A wilderness that whispered of dangers. Inside, a group of friends gathered, their laughter echoing. They sought refuge from the city, unaware of the storm's menace. They were about to face a storm more menacing than the one outside. Their laughter would be silenced, their fates intertwined with the cabin's secrets. Despite the storm, anticipation hung inside the cabin. The friends arrived with hearts full of hope and laughter. They were a mismatched bunch, yet camaraderie bound them. They planned this getaway for months, excitement growing. The cabin was to be their escape, a place to be themselves. The fire crackled, casting a warm glow as they shared stories. Glasses clinked, toasts made, promises exchanged. They were oblivious to the storm outside. For them, nothing else mattered but friendship and good company. There was a tangible excitement, a sense of anticipation. They felt on the cusp of something extraordinary. Little did they know the storm was a harbinger of events to unfold. The cabin, their sanctuary, was about to become their prison. Leading the group was Edward, a history professor. His eyes, magnified by spectacles, held a glint of curiosity. He saw the cabin as a time capsule, echoes of bygone eras. By his side was Amelia, a free-spirited painter. Her laughter was bright, her energy infectious. Where Edward saw history, Amelia saw beauty. She sought a muse, a spark for her artistic soul. Their relationship was a study in contrasts. Edward, grounded in logic, was drawn to Amelia's emotions. Amelia saw in Edward a stability that anchored her. Their differences strengthened their bond. As snowflakes fell, they stood on the porch. Edward pointed out the need for firewood. Amelia captured the beauty of the falling snow on her canvas. A sense of foreboding lingered, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Section 2, The Doctor and the Writer. Daniel, a cardiothoracic surgeon, found peace in the cabin's simplicity. His hands, usually precise, struggled with the kerosene lamp. The weight of his profession lifted as he inhaled the mountain air. He sought relaxation and redemption. Joining them was Ethan, a novelist. Despite his success, Ethan was haunted by self-doubt. He sought solace in the cabin's isolation. Daniel and Ethan's friendship had weathered time and distance. Daniel envied Ethan's ability to create worlds with words. Ethan admired Daniel's dedication to saving lives. They were two sides of the same coin. As the wind howled, they shared stories by the fire. Daniel regaled them with tales from the operating room. Ethan began to weave a tale of travelers stranded in a snowstorm. Unknowingly, he was narrating their fate. Section 3, The Musician and The Wildcard. Olivia, a talented musician, added whimsy to the group. Her music transported listeners to other realms. Olivia was the heart of the group, her empathy boundless. She sensed the unspoken, offering comfort when needed. Completing the group was Benjamin, the wildcard. A tech entrepreneur, Benjamin sought a break from the digital world. Beneath his confidence was a vulnerability. Olivia and Benjamin's relationship amused their friends. Olivia saw depth in Benjamin, who hid his past. Benjamin was drawn to Olivia's free spirit. Their connection was a dance of push and pull. As snow fell, Olivia tuned her guitar. Her music took on a melancholic tone. Benjamin grew quiet, lost in thought. Unease began to permeate the room. The storm's intensity mirrored their growing tension. Section 4. The Calm Before the Storm. The cabin, once a sanctuary, now held its breath. The wind howled, chilling the room despite the fire. The group, subdued, sat huddled together. They were like actors on a stage, unaware of the impending drama. The cabin was about to become their prison. The storm was a harbinger of darkness within the cabin's walls. Daylight faded, plunging the cabin into semi-darkness. The storm isolated the cabin, burying the path under snow. They were trapped, their fates intertwined with the cabin's secrets. The night was young, and the storm was far from over. Their weekend retreat was about to become a fight for survival. As darkness enveloped the cabin, the storm raged with fury. Wind slammed against the walls. The old cabin shuddered under the assault. Snow piled against the windows, obscuring the outside world. The fire's glow struggled to penetrate the shadows. Tension settled over the group. Their earlier laughter was replaced by unspoken fear. Edward tried to maintain normalcy, stoking the fire. Amelia sat curled in a corner, eyes wide and unseeing. Daniel paced the room, checking windows and shutters. Ethan hunched over his notebook, writing furiously. Olivia sat close to the fire, her guitar silent. Benjamin stared out the window, face a mask of dread. The storm amplified their fears, stripping away facades. Their raw vulnerability was revealed. The storm outside mirrored their inner turmoil. The cabin, once a refuge, became a prison. They faced a terrifying reality beyond the cabin's walls. The isolation, once a welcome respite, now suffocated them with its silence. The howling wind whispered their deepest fears, their darkest secrets. The storm became a malevolent presence, toying with their sanity. Each howl brought the unsettling feeling of being watched by something ancient and evil. Rational thought crumbled under the storm's oppressive presence. The cabin, their sanctuary, had become a prison. Edward, his voice strained, tried to break the silence. He spoke of survival stories, but his words rang hollow. Amelia whispered of feeling a cold, watchful presence. Daniel dismissed it as cabin fever, pouring another round of whiskey. Ethan, his eyes wild, spoke of a story he was writing. Olivia recounted local legends of a vengeful mountain spirit. Their words fueled the growing sense of dread that permeated the cabin. The storm raged on, an unrelenting assault on their senses. The power went out, plunging the cabin into darkness. Trapped, their fear became palpable, feeding on their doubts. They huddled together, faces illuminated by the flickering flames. Ethan suggested a game of cards to break the tension, anything to distract from the storm's fury. They played in silence, movements mechanical. The deck felt heavy in Ethan's trembling hands. The shuffling echoed in the silence. They played in silence, the wind howling outside. The game only heightened their fear. Each card seemed to hold a hidden meaning. Shadows danced on the walls, mocking their plight. Edward claimed he saw a figure in the window. Amelia refused to play, claiming the cards were cursed. Daniel poured another round of whiskey. They were losing their grip on reality. As the night wore on, the storm reached its crescendo. The wind howled, a banshee wail that seemed to shake the very foundation of the cabin. The temperature plummeted, the cold seeping in through the cracks, chilling them to the bone. The phone lines, their only link to the outside world, crackled and went dead. They were truly alone, at the mercy of the storm and the unseen presence that haunted them. Benjamin, his usual bravado gone, pulled out his cell phone, his fingers fumbling as he tried to get a signal. The others watched him, their last hope fading with each failed attempt. Finally, a flicker of bars appeared on the screen. He dialed frantically, his voice a desperate plea for help as he described their predicament, his words tumbling over each other in a torrent of fear. The voice on the other end, faint and distorted, acknowledged his call, but the connection was poor. the words barely audible above the wind's roar. Benjamin, his voice cracking with desperation, pleaded for help, but it was too late. The line went dead, the screen fading to black. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the storm's fury and their own ragged breathing. They were trapped, cut off from the world, their fate uncertain. The storm, the darkness, the unseen presence. They were all closing in, tightening their grip on the terrified occupants of the snowbound cabin. The night was far from over and the worst was yet to come. Days later, the storm finally relented. It slunk away as if embarrassed by its own ferocity, leaving behind a world transformed. The sun, a forgotten memory, reappeared, casting a blinding light on the pristine, snow-covered landscape. The only evidence of the storm's passage was the blanket of white that covered everything, and an almost unnatural silence that hung heavy in the air. It was this silence that first drew the attention of Park Ranger John Riley as he made his rounds, checking on the remote cabins under his jurisdiction. He knew the occupants of this particular cabin, a group of friends up for a weekend retreat. He had even exchanged pleasantries with them just days prior, their faces flushed with excitement for their snowbound getaway. Approaching the cabin, his snowshoes crunching on the freshly fallen snow, Riley felt a prickle of unease. The pristine snowdrifts showed no signs of disturbance, no footprints leading to or from the cabin door. It was as if the cabin itself had vanished beneath the snow, only to be magically resurrected once the storm subsided. The unnatural quiet, broken only by the crunch of his own footsteps, amplified his unease, turning it into a knot of dread in his gut. He called out, his voice echoing strangely in the stillness, but there was no answer. He knocked on the sturdy oak door, the sound solid yet strangely muted. Stillness. A silence that spoke volumes. Drawing a deep breath, bracing himself for he knew not what, Riley reached for the doorknob. The door swung open with a groan, revealing an image that sent a chill down Riley's spine. The interior of the cabin was pristine, almost untouched, as if frozen in time. A fire still crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the scene, but the air was heavy, stagnant, with the unsettling stillness of a tomb. The table was set for a meal, plates piled high with food, now cold and congealing under a thin film of grease. Wine glasses, half full, stood as silent witnesses to a celebration abruptly halted. A deck of cards lay scattered on the table as if tossed aside in haste, their whimsical faces a stark contrast to the chilling tableau. The unsettling normalcy of it all heightened the sense of wrongness. It wasn't the aftermath of a struggle, not the chaotic scene of a hasty retreat. It was as if the occupants of the cabin had simply vanished, their presence lingering in the untouched food, the unplayed games, the half-finished conversations echoing in the silent rooms. Riley, his heart pounding against his ribs, moved through the cabin, his senses on high alert. He checked each room, his flashlight beam cutting through the eerie stillness. The bedrooms were undisturbed, beds made, personal belongings neatly arranged. The bathroom, too, showed no signs of a struggle, towels folded neatly, toiletries untouched. An unsettling feeling washed over Riley, a mingling of curiosity and dread that tightened its grip with every step he took. It was as if the cabin itself was holding its breath, unwilling or unable to reveal its secrets. The air was thick with the ghosts of laughter, of conversations abruptly silenced, of music left unfinished. He found a guitar leaning against the wall, its polished wood gleaming in the firelight. He recognized it from his previous visit, remembered the young woman with fiery hair who had filled the cabin with her music. He gently touched the strings, half expecting a note to ring out, breaking the oppressive silence, but there was nothing, only the echo of his own touch, amplified in the stillness. In the living room he discovered a notebook on the floor, its pages filled with frantic scribbles. He picked it up, recognizing the handwriting from a previous encounter. It belonged to the writer, the quiet one with haunted eyes. The words, a jumbled mix of fact and fiction, sent shivers down Riley's spine. There was talk of a presence, a darkness that seeped from the walls, a fear that consumed them from within. He read on, his unease growing with every line until he reached the final entry, a single sentence scrawled across the page in a hand shaking with terror. "It's in the walls, and now it's in us." Riley, his mind awash in questions, continued his search, his gaze sweeping over every detail, every seemingly innocuous object. He found himself drawn to the refrigerator, its hum the only sound in the otherwise silent cabin. On the door, held in place by a colorful magnet depicting a child's drawing of a smiling sun, was a note. The note, written in a hand he didn't recognize, was simple, direct, and utterly chilling. The words, stark against the white paper, seemed to pulsate with an energy that transcended the ink, an energy that spoke of a power beyond human comprehension. It read, "We have gone to find the silence." The words hung in the air, a cryptic message from a group that had vanished without a trace. What did they mean? Where had they gone? What silence were they searching for? The silence of the storm? Or a silence far more profound, a silence that lay beyond the realm of the living? Riley, clutching the note in his hand, felt a chill run down his spine. He had a feeling that this was only the beginning, the first chapter in a story far stranger and more terrifying than he could ever have imagined. The snowbound cabin, once a place of refuge, had revealed itself to be something far more sinister, a gateway to a mystery that whispered of ancient secrets, of a darkness that ran deeper than the winter snows, a darkness that had claimed the guests who had never checked out. The disappearance of the vacationers from the snowbound cabin shocked the small mountain community. The story became a media sensation, attracting reporters, amateur sleuths, and paranormal enthusiasts. Everyone had a theory, debated around campfires and online forums. Local authorities focused on plausible explanations. The blizzard, they argued, was the most likely culprit. Disoriented by the storm, the group may have wandered off, succumbing to the elements. The wilderness held many dangers, especially during winter. Search and rescue teams combed the area, hampered by heavy snowfall. They followed every lead, their hope dwindling with each passing hour. The lack of any sign deepened the mystery, straining investigators' nerves. Some speculated the group, faced with dwindling supplies, sought help on foot. Perhaps they found another dwelling and were waiting out the storm. This theory was dismissed by locals who knew the area best. The nearest dwelling was miles away, impossible to reach during a blizzard. As days turned into weeks and the official search yielded no answers, whispers of more sinister possibilities began to circulate. Theories fueled by local legends and fueled by the internet's insatiable appetite for the strange and unexplained painted a far more disturbing picture, one that spoke of forces beyond human comprehension. Some whispered of the mountain spirit, a malevolent entity said to haunt the area, its presence heralded by sudden snowstorms and an oppressive silence that chilled the soul. This entity, they claimed, lured unsuspecting travelers off the beaten path, their fates unknown, their souls claimed by the mountain's icy embrace. Others, their beliefs rooted in ancient folklore, spoke of a portal, a thin place where the veil between this world and the next wore thin, allowing passage to beings not meant for human eyes. The note found on the refrigerator with its cryptic message of finding the silence became a focal point of these darker theories. What silence had they found? Was it the silence of death, the eternal quiet of the grave? Or had they stumbled upon a silence far more profound, a silence that lay beyond the realm of human understanding, a silence that beckoned them, consumed them, and ultimately swallowed them whole? These theories, though easily dismissed by those who clung to logic and reason, held a strange power, a terrifying plausibility that wormed its way into the minds of even the most skeptical. The lack of evidence, the absence of any logical explanation, only served to fuel the flames of speculation, transforming a tragedy into a chilling parable, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires. John Riley, haunted by unanswered questions, found himself drawn back to the cabin time and again. He couldn't shake the feeling that the structure itself held the key to the mystery. He spent hours examining every nook and cranny, hoping to find a clue. The cabin had a history, a darkness that predated even the oldest legends. Local historians spoke of disappearances and strange occurrences. Some claimed the cabin was built on an ancient burial ground. Riley couldn't dismiss the feeling that the cabin was connected to the disappearances. He imagined their last moments, the growing terror, the desperate search for an escape. He could almost hear their voices echoing in the silence. he began to believe the cabin was a living entity, a predator feeding on their life force. The note on the refrigerator, he realized, was a message from the cabin itself. The snowbound cabin remained, a silent sentinel in the vast wilderness. The seasons changed, the snow melted, giving way to lush greenery, then back to the fiery hues of autumn, and finally, to the stark beauty of winter once more. Yet the silence lingered, a constant reminder of the mystery that remained unsolved. The vacationers were never found, their fate a chilling question mark etched into the collective memory of the mountain community. The cabin, once a popular rental, stood empty, shunned by locals and avoided by those who had heard the stories whispered around campfires and shared in hushed tones. It became a place of pilgrimage for those seeking answers, for those drawn to the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the surface of the ordinary. They came seeking a glimpse of the unknown, a brush with the darkness that clung to the place like a shroud. But the cabin offered no answers, only more questions, more whispers of what might have been. The silence that had claimed the vacationers lingered, a palpable presence that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to venture too close. It was a silence that spoke of secrets best left buried, of a darkness that slumbered beneath the surface of the world, waiting for the right moment to awaken, to claim its next victims. The snowbound cabin, once a place of refuge, had become a symbol of the unknown, a chilling reminder that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk, waiting to claim the unwary, leaving behind only silence and unanswered questions that echoed in the hearts of those left behind. The guests had never checked out, their story unfinished, their laughter swallowed by the silence, their fate a chilling mystery that would forever be intertwined with the snowbound cabin and the secrets it held within its walls. The snow continued to fall, blanketing the landscape in a pristine white silence. The cabin, now just a dark silhouette against the blinding snow, stood as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. The investigation had reached a dead end. The missing vacationers had become another unsolved mystery, their story relegated to the dusty annals of unexplained disappearances. What had truly transpired within those snowbound walls? The unanswered questions hung heavy in the air, guarded by the relentless passage of time and the unforgiving embrace of the snow. The snowbound cabin, once a symbol of warmth, now stood as a haunting reminder of the darkness beneath the ordinary. Even in idyllic settings, evil could find a foothold, erasing the line between civilization and the wild. The vanished vacationer's tale became a cautionary story, whispered among mountain villagers. It reminded them to respect nature's power and heed the warnings whispered on the wind. The cabin remained, a solitary sentinel in the wilderness, its secrets locked within. Some say, on the anniversary, one can hear faint laughter, a chilling reminder of the guests who never checked out. The story of the snowbound cabin and its vanished guests serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. It speaks to our deepest fears and the unsettling truth that sometimes, the answers we seek are the ones we are not meant to find.